Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny makes Crystal Skull look like Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is going to be a spoiler review, so click off if you actually want to see this abomination. Otherwise, let's get into it. Now, I'm not a total hater of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and one of the good things in that movie was the ending where Indiana Jones gets back with his best leading lady, Marion Ravenwood, and they have a family, and Shia LaBeouf is his son, who is decidedly absent from Dial of Destiny. Apparently, their son got killed in Vietnam, and now Indy is separated from Marion. We see him with divorce papers at the beginning of this movie, and he is a broken down old wreck, which is the MO of Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm. Take all those old male characters that we loved when we were young and then bring them back to be miserable, broken down old failures, and oh my god, this is getting so fucking tiring. So the happy ending of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is one of the few good things about that movie, just gets undone with a stroke of a pen in Dial of Destiny. I'm not going to bore you with a full plot synopsis of this movie, but basically what it entails is Indiana Jones and his insufferable goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, more on her later. They're going after this device called the Antikythera, which was created by Archimedes, and it creates fissures in time. And the villain who's after it is this former Nazi scientist played by Mads Mikkelsen. He wants to get this device so he can turn back the clock, go back to 1939, kill Adolf Hitler, and fight World War II his way so the Axis powers win. There aren't that many good things in this movie. One of the passable things in this movie is the opening scene, which takes place in 1944. It's the end of World War II. The Fuhrer is hiding away in his bunker, and meanwhile, this battalion of Nazi soldiers, they are shipping off this train filled with antiquities, and Indiana Jones and his colleague Basil, played by Toby Jones, they are trying to stop the Nazis from shipping off with these artifacts, and among them is the Dial of Destiny, the Antikythera. If you've seen the trailers, then you know there is a scene where they use de-aging technology on Harrison Ford to make him look like he's Indiana Jones in his prime, and that's this opening sequence. And I've got to say that the de-aging deepfake technology here is probably the best that we have seen it yet, but it's not quite there yet. There are a number of moments where Indiana Jones really looks Uncanny Valley-ish, and then on top of that, it's really, really jarring to hear the voice of old Harrison Ford coming out of the face and body of young Harrison Ford. And speaking of the body of young Harrison Ford, when watching this movie, I couldn't help but think that whatever younger actor they got to provide the body of Indiana Jones in this sequence, he does not move like Harrison Ford. So this is one of the best scenes in the movie, and already I have so many problems with it. And I've got to say, there are a couple moments in this movie where things happen to characters and then they end up surviving, and I'm just there thinking, no, that's bullshit. I know this is an Indiana Jones film, and you can suspend your disbelief and whatever, but no, not for these. There's this one part toward the end of this opening sequence, which is on this train. There's this fight scene on this train, and Mads Mikkelsen's character confronts Indiana Jones to try to get the Antikythera. This train's going really, really fast, and Mads Mikkelsen gets just clotheslined by, I think it's like a water tower or something that is on the side of the train, which is going by really, really fast. He just gets clotheslined by this thing. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Speed with Dennis Hopper. That fucking took his head off. There's no way this villain character would be alive after 1944, but he survives to 1969 for some reason. As many problems as there are with this opening scene, it's one of the best scenes in the movie, and then once the movie flashes forward in time, it is just, it's all downhill from there. So now that we've covered what is marginally good about this movie, we have to get into what is truly, truly abominable. And holy shit, this is a long list. At the very top of that list is none other than 3 words: Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't think I have seen a more unlikable character than her character, Helena Shaw, in years. She is just nails on a fucking chalkboard, and the movie really wants you to like her. It expects you to like her and this affected spunk that she's putting on throughout the entire movie. And when I say affected spunk, what I mean is it's that sort of attitude that people who aren't really confident put on to try to compensate. Throughout the entire movie, she's talking down to Indiana Jones and belittling him. And what's worse, she is given scenes that should have been Indiana Jones's. For instance, there's this scene on this boat where Indiana Jones and her are cornered by the bad guys, and she's thinking on her feet to make an escape. And that's how they get away. That should have been Indiana Jones's scene. This is an Indiana Jones movie, but it's 2023. It's Lucasfilm, and therefore we need to give all the good heroic scenes to a woman who we don't give a shit about. Never mind the fact that she is not the character who we came to see. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge is the albatross around this movie's neck that drags it to the bottom of the ocean to let it drown. But there are a lot of other things that are wrong with this movie. For instance, James Mangold's direction I have a big problem with. James Mangold is a good director, but he does not measure up to Steven Spielberg when doing this sort of pulpy adventure movie. It's hard to exactly articulate what it is about Mangold's direction that doesn't work for me, but it just doesn't feel like Indiana Jones. There isn't the sense of grandeur, there isn't that sense of adventure that you want from an Indiana Jones movie. Not only does it not have that sense of adventure, it doesn't have the sense of horror that Indiana Jones at its best delivers. Like in Raiders of the Lost Ark, you got Nazis' faces melting. Temple of Doom, a guy's heart getting ripped out. Then in Last Crusade, you've got Julian Glover's character Donovan aging 1,000 years in 20 seconds, and it's really freaky. Dial of Destiny does not have that freaky shit that the old Indiana Jones movies had, where you watch it as a kid and it just scares the daylights out of you. This movie is rated PG-13, and the old Indiana Jones movies that are rated PG have more balls than this. But this is Disney after all. I cannot help but feel also, this movie is a waste of some really good talent. Antonio Banderas is in this for like a hot second as one of Indy's old friends, just to be killed off immediately after he is introduced. And I just think that it is such a damn shame that they get these good actors and they don't do more with them. John Rhys Davies returns in this movie briefly as Sala, and it's nice to see him again, but he's not in it for very long, and you kind of wish you had seen more of him. We need to talk about the punch. So toward the end of this movie, the Nazis, they have the Antikythera, and they're planning on going back to 1939, so Mads Mikkelsen can set his plot into motion. But it turns out that they're wrong about going back to Germany 1939, and instead they end up going back, I forget what the year is, but it's the year that Rome is invading Greece, and that's where Archimedes is. Apparently this device was a ploy by Archimedes, so someone in the future would use it to come back to Greece to help Greece beat the Romans. It's really silly and I don't quite get it. But anyway, the bad guys who have captured Indiana Jones, who's been shot in the chest by this point, but just won't die. Again, something that ought to have killed him that just won't. He ends up going back in time with the Nazis, and Helena and her little sidekick, who I haven't even mentioned yet, his name's Teddy, I think. They end up following the Nazis there to try to rescue Indiana Jones. But then the Nazis crash and everyone dies except Indiana Jones. And then Indiana Jones meets Archimedes. And then he's in awe of seeing this massive historical battle between Greece and Rome. Now, this next part I thought was just egregious. Indiana Jones is telling Helena, just leave me, go back through the portal, go back to the present day. There's nothing for me there. I want to just die here. And Helena's telling him, no, you might change history if you stay here. But Indiana Jones doesn't care. There's no way Indiana Jones would not care about potentially altering the course of history. He would go back. He cares about this shit. But no, as per the Lucasfilm template of taking old male characters and denigrating them, making them pathetic, he says, no, there's nothing for me in the present day. Just leave me here. And then that is when Helena knocks his lights out. She punches him, and then it cuts to black, and then that's when we get to the ending. So in this ending, Indiana Jones is lying in his New York apartment, convalescing. We Don't know how they got back. We have to assume that they went back through the time portal. And Helena is there, and Indiana Jones is upset that she didn't leave him back in time to die. And she says, no, you have something to live for. You see, guys, she is the hero of this story. And then that's when the door opens, and through the door walks Marion Ravenwood, once again played by Karen Allen. And it's great to see Karen Allen again, and she and Harrison Ford have great chemistry, just effortless. And then they share a romantic moment, which I do like, but here's the thing, guys. I liked this romantic moment when it was in Raiders of the Lost Ark. They literally lift that romantic scene that Marion and Indiana Jones have on the boat after he's been beaten up fighting the Nazis, and they do it here. She asks him, where does it hurt? And he says, it hurts everywhere. They're talking about their dead son, of course, in this case. Then Indiana Jones asks Marion, where doesn't it hurt? And she goes, here, here. You've seen this scene if you've seen Raiders of the Lost Ark, and you've seen it done better. You may call this an homage if you're feeling charitable, but to me, this just felt ripped off, and it felt like a manipulative ploy to tug at the heartstrings and hit that nostalgia nerve just one more time before the end. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny sucks the big one, that's for sure, but it is impressive in one way. With this movie, Kathleen Kennedy and her team of morons over at Lucasfilm have managed to besmirch every single last part of Mr. George Lucas's legacy. It is astounding. This woman should have been fired eons ago, but there is zero excuse for not shit-canning her ass now, especially since this movie is fucking tanking at the box office. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but a girl can dream. Thank you guys very much for watching to the end of this video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe to this channel if you like what you've seen here. And even if you don't dig what you've seen, thank you very much for watching to the end. Hate watches still count after all. I'm Grega, and you all stay beautiful. Cheers.